I'm Brad Shore, and I've been on the board of the center two different occasions. I was on the board in 01, 02, 03, then left for a couple years, and I came back and was on the board of directors for about a year and a half. I left a couple months ago. So a lot of people know me from being on the center board. A lot of people know me in town also from the Sunday Brunch Bunch group. It's a social group that been doing champagne potluck brunches for years, bringing people together. Doing an e-magazine with that called The Loop. A lot of people know me from that as well. I have about 5,000 subscribers for the e-magazine. So usually people will say, Brad Shore, okay, I know that name. And I say, okay, either the center, they go, no. I'll go to brunches, yeah, or it's one of those, or the Loop e-magazine. So typically that's usually how people seem to know my name here in Long Beach anyhow, yeah.
What made you want to come to the center in the very first place?
You know, I moved to Long Beach in 2000, and I wanted to get connected, and I wanted to help the community in any way that I could. And being on the board, that kind of volunteer activity interested me. So I came down here, met with some people at the time in 2000, and just kind of started coming to some meetings and helped when I could and volunteered. And then in 2001 actually joined the board. And just in answer to that question, just there was so much needed to happen. We were struggling at the time. We had a huge tax debt to pay, and as well as just the normal concerns of the center. So I thought, you know, let me help, and got on the board. And at the time, there was a lot going on with the normal programs. I was development chair at the time, so I was doing fundraisers and events, and also we decided to do bingo at the time, and it fell on me, which was fine, head of development. But that was a huge project because I had to work with the city to get the bingo license. That took months. I had to talk to detectives, be fingerprinted. It's this huge ordeal when you get a bingo license, I found out. And then we got the license, and then there was the massive project of actually getting bingo up and running. And it was, where are we going to do it? How are we going to do it? And long story short, it was turned into drag bingo. We had the Imperial Court helping us. And one of the girls from the Imperial Court would be the caller, and we did it right here in the back parking lot here at the center, and did that for probably about a good year. It's very tough. It takes a lot of volunteers. It's tough to get a consistent group of people coming back every week. Anyway, that was my first go around here, and just met great people, great board members. It's a great way to be in touch with the community. Good programs are offered here. It's a great place to volunteer, I think, for anybody. And then this next go round, which ended a couple months ago, different board members, obviously. It's great working with Kim Woods now as executive director. And some of the programs here now are just really taken off. And of course, the day after tomorrow is the Changing Gears bike ride, and Pink Gala coming up in August. And so there's a lot happening here. For anybody who wants to get involved, this is the place to come and volunteer and spend their time, for sure.
That's fantastic. So what actually brought you back the second time? You'd already had one go round. What?
You know, I think I just always have to be doing something in that way in the community. I really like being like an activist or involved in some way, because that's a good question. Because when I left in 03, instead of kind of like that big symbolic deep breath, like, okay, my term's up, let me just chill out for a few years, I found that I went to the steering committee for HRC, and I was on their steering committee for about a year or so for Human Rights Campaign. And then also at the time I was talking a lot to Gary Bowie, got involved a little bit with steering committee for Long Beach AIDS Walk. So the point being is that I find that just continually I like being involved in these nonprofit organizations. I like the connections being made. I like the ways that I can help. And it's just rewarding in so many ways. So that's kind of what brought me up to about a year and a half ago, when I was thinking about coming back here. And I had lunch with Kim, and I wanted to hear about what was happening here at the center, get a little more input from her. They were looking for board members at that time, and there were some exciting things happening here, and I thought, yeah, you know, maybe time for another go around. So just sort of that energy is what was driving it.
What do you think was the most successful contribution you were able to make?
Probably in answer to that question, I would say the launch of the mental health program here at the center. I was on the steering committee for that, and of course we had Nancy Foster with us, and basically I'm also a psychotherapist. I work 2 jobs. I received a master's in psychology about 12 years ago. So being studied in that and being a psychotherapist, it was great to be on the board at the time when we were bringing in a mental health program. So now anybody calls here needing help, feeling down, maybe suicidal or just depressed, whatever the issue is, they can call here now, talk to a licensed clinical social worker, have an appointment set up, see trained professionals for very low cost. So that's wonderful that that's happened, that it is happening, and it was a pleasure to be a part of that here.
What would you like to see the center accomplish in the coming year or years? What's maybe a goal that maybe you would like to see for them?
I think a few things come to mind. I think definitely build this mental health program just huge. I hope we have many therapists here, maybe a couple of LCSW supervisors, possibly Monday through Friday of just scheduling clients in here. And of course that comes from my center involvement, but also from my being a psychotherapist. I can see the benefit of that. I know it's a healing thing to come in for any kind of therapy. So I would like to see that grow and get much larger. I think that we still, even though we don't hear that much about HIV/AIDS like we did in the 80s and all that, but obviously that's a huge problem. Obviously that hasn't gone anywhere at all. It's still as prevalent as it always was. So we still need to do the testing. We still need to do outreach. We still need to do education for that. So I think that's a huge piece of the pie as well. As time goes on, we have to meet the needs of the community, really. So we'll see what the needs are. That may change from it. For example, senior healthcare, senior issues, senior living. Probably 10 years ago, certainly, that probably would not have really been discussed in a gay and lesbian center anywhere in the U.S. That shows us how communities evolve. That shows us how we've evolved. That shows us that now a lot of gay and lesbian centers are in fact focusing on senior housing. So that's another evolvement that we'll probably see the center latch onto as our community gets older and bigger. And that's new. It's something we haven't looked at before. So that could also be another important issue, I think, for the center to look at down the road.
So now that you're leaving the center for a while, what's your next venture?
My website is called getintheloop.org, which ties into this. And I like to tell people about it, not only because they can find out about community events there as well, but there's some free links, just like Craigslist, where you get your free housing link and your free personals link, and there's going to be a buy-sell link. You can come to this website and for free you can make listings and check out listings and maybe find a roommate, rent an apartment, whatever you want to do. So I've been having a lot of fun with that too.
What's the thing you'll miss most about the center?
Well, I miss seeing a lot of my friends here who are on the board. So I'm still involved, and I talk to Kim a lot, and I'm down here quite often like I am right now. And so I still kind of feel almost as involved. But not being on the board, however, I'm not privy to all the emails and the board meetings and the executive meetings and all that. And I do miss that. And it's not so much for what necessarily is happening technically with the center, but it's seeing your friends, because working together with any board, usually you become friends. You're together a lot. You spend a lot of meeting time together. And so I miss seeing some of those people on a regular basis, I would say. And I think the volunteers as well, anybody who's involved here, staff and volunteers, after a while you don't want to go, because you've usually made some good friends, and you feel connected here. And so I think that's what happens to people when they get involved here at the center.